everyone, I'm Caroline and today I'm going to start Christmas in July. We're going to have lots of fun. I've got 10 fast and easy projects for us to make. Let's get straight over to my desk and get started. This craft is quick and easy, but you have to allow for some drying time because we're going to use the great slower down of craft, some paint. If I use chalk paint and a hairdryer, I can speed this up no end. I got this dog and originally it was probably very pretty and all brightly coloured with this decoupage, but it's very faded now. So I'm going to give it a complete coat of white paint. So puppy is painted. It took 3 coats and still I'm not happy with the painting because of the decoupage underneath the glue. It made him a bit uneven and so very difficult to get a thorough coat. I want to move on, so he's going to have to stay just a little bit less than perfect. But I don't think he minds. He's such a cute fellow. Well, he's white, but he's not very Christmassy. I think he needs a Christmas hat. I've cut this fabric into a 1-inch strip. It's like a fur fabric, and I thought he'd look quite cute if he's got a Christmas hat hanging over his face like that. By wrapping the piece of fabric around, I can tell how big the hat needs to be. And again, if you want to put it straight, it will be a different size. I think on the one eye is going to look really cute. I've cut a piece of fabric to the same length as the little bit of fur. So now I'm going to fold that in half and make a sort of Christmas shaped hat. So this isn't an exact science. I've got a double-sided fabric, so I can now put a run of glue right up either side, very close to the edge. I think I'll do this side first, fold that over, like that, and then do the other side. You can sew this if you don't mind it taking longer, but if you want to be quick, the glue gun is always your friend. When it's cool, turn it the right way in. Again, you could lightly press this, being careful not to melt the glue if you wanted to, but time is of the essence, so I'm not going to. So I'll decide which is the front, which is the back, and then I'm going to glue this on, starting at the front. Run of glue along the edge, and then make sure the fur is hanging over the edge. You don't want any of the red sticking out the bottom. And then round to the back. Across we go. Flop it over. Now this is a lovely hat, but it's going to flop. And I don't think I want a floppy hat. Let's have a look. Oh, now I've made it and I'm putting it on. I think I prefer it on his head properly. Fortunately, it still works out the right size. So I'm going to bend this hat over to there and glue it in place. Cut out a circle to make a rough pom-pom and glue that on the end. So I'm going to glue this on because otherwise every time people pick him up or every time you move him, you lose his hat, it'll fall on the floor. So decide what position you want. You won't need to glue all the way around, just in a few crucial places just to make sure he's got a grip. And now I'm going to put a tiny bit of decoration on his hat. Nothing too big. Glue some berries on as well. Now isn't that cute? I love him. Now you could paint his face back on. I think it could turn it into a bit of a Frankenstein, so I'm not going to do that. As a finishing touch, I'm just going to put a little bow under his chin, and isn't he so adorable? I just love him. He's so much prettier than he was before I started. Right, let's have a look what this looks like up on my display. This next project is so fast, if you blink you'll miss it. Find yourself a Christmas ornament with a hole in the back. I found this very cute reindeer. He was 75p in the charity shop, or the thrift store. And I'm going to upcycle him to look really gorgeous for Christmas. I've got this that came in a job lot of Christmas decorations. It's old, it's tatty, there's a lot of wear on these, so I'm going to take these off because I don't think they're doing anything for it. I'm going to leave the rest of the bits on. Now this is going to go into the back of the reindeer. Like that. But it's a little bit bare, so I've got a few bits and pieces. I've got this red poinsettia that I can stick in there. So So I'm going to put a little bit of tissue paper in the bottom here to support the top. Like that. And then find the bottom bit, or the worst looking bit, and that can go downwards. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue to secure it around the edge. Not a lot. Like that. But it's a bit bare now, so I've got this beautiful poinsettia. So decide where I want that to go, which direction he'll be facing. So I think I'll put that there. Yep, I like that there, so I'll put some glue on, pop it into place, and put it around the outside. I've got a few of these red cherry things. I'm not quite sure what they are. I can't see where they're going to stick, so I've hot glued quite a way up the stem, and then poke it in and it'll stick to something. And then we put one there. You can add anything, you can add bows, you can just find yourself at the shop one very large pick that will just fill this in one go if you want to. It just makes it a little bit more creative if you add a few of your own embellishments. I think I'll pop one berry in the back there. So that is really cute, really fast to make. And if you're last minute and you think, oh, my Christmas table looks a bit bare, you could make one of those in hardly any time, as long as you've got a few bits of pieces and a suitable ornament. Let's have a look what this looks like. For this project, I've got myself a photo frame or a picture frame. Now, I did start doing this and forgot to turn the camera on, so we've gone back in time a little bit. It's a bit loose. So the first thing I did was made sure I chose a frame that looked Christmassy, because I want this to be a quick and easy craft. And if I got myself to something that needed painting, then that was going to slow me down. So this was the perfect colour for Christmas. So then I take the back off, and now bring the back up. The back up. Now I've chosen for this picture, this piece of sheet music I've got, it's called Sleigh Ride. Now it's got people's names written on it, it's tatty, it's got the stamp from the shop where it was sold, 1 and 6pence, and I just love it. You can see the very vintage font down there. It's got all the music inside, but I'm just interested in the front cover, and I just love it so much. Picked a backing paper that I thought went well with it. I did try a dark red, but it was just too overwhelming. So now out with the glue stick, and I'm going to glue the piece of paper onto the backing board. For this I'm using Scotch glue stick. If you run it down with a bone folder or a credit card, you just make sure there are no big air bubbles. Turn it over, and now I need to trim down there. The board is nice and firm, so I don't need to use a ruler. So now I'm just going to put a little bit of glue between the front and the back pages, because otherwise it's going to flop open when I'm trying to fix it. So a little bit there, there and there. And that should do it. Close it up. And now we're going to put some glue on this and place this as central as we possibly can, so that it'll be central in the frame. Next, I'm going to reassemble the frame. This is so quick and easy, so much fun and so fulfilling to do. Pop my backing board in, bend these little clips down, just seal it in place. Now I love that, and it's perfectly well to stand alone like that, but I'm going to put a little bit of interest on as well. I've got a little bit of foliage, well, a lot of berries and a little bit of foliage. So I'm just going to make a little decoration to go on the bottom of the frame, and I think that will really bring out the Christmassy look of it. Put the red berries on, they really highlight the look of it, and also hides the join. Now wasn't that quick and wasn't that easy? Let's have a look what this looks like up on my display. another craft that's so quick, if you blink you'll miss it. It's so easy. You need to go to a thrift store or a charity shop and get yourself a little container. I got this one with some relief on, and that is going to make all the difference. Otherwise you can just paint it in whatever colour you like. I think this is leather and it's a souvenir somebody's brought back from holiday, but I'm just going to put a little bit of dry brushing on it. I think the image on the top of this is almost like a sleepy Bethlehem village. There. So I think it's very fitting for Christmas. And once I put, I suppose, what you call quite a heavy dry brush, and then just wipe with a piece of, this is kitchen towel, and look at that. If I show you this bottom which hasn't been done yet, doesn't it make a difference? So now we do the same with the bottom. And then give this a wipe over. During the Christmas season, you probably will be able to get something with a very pretty Christmas relief pattern on from places like Dollar Tree or Hobbycraft, wherever it is you shop. But if not, thrift stores, charity shops are always a pretty good bet for finding something suitable for this sort of job. One of the big advantages of dry brushing something like this is that it dries so quickly after you've given it a wipe as well. Just going to top up some bits because I think too much paint came off. If you've got a plain top pot, you could put something like poinsettia there with a little bit of foliage sticking out the sides. I've got a few different things here, so you could build up a little decoration like that on it, but I'm not going to because I think the top is so pretty. The first thing I'm going to do is put this piece of ribbon around using my glue gun. Always decide where you want the back to be, and that's where you can put the join, unless you're putting a bow or you're putting an embellishment. Now I'm going to be putting an embellishment on so I can join it at the front because that's going to be hidden. And now I'm going to add some of this red velvet ribbon to the centre of the white bow. Just gives a little bit of depth. You've got two lots of ribbon on there. So now I glue a little bit of foliage onto the front of the little gift box. Add some little red berries and one of these tiny little tags, which is actually a letter on a tag. And I've turned it over the other way, and now I've written the name of the recipient and I put Sam on. So that makes a perfect little gift box, and you can pop some money in there, some jewellery, anything like that. And I think whoever received that would love it. Isn't it beautiful? This next craft may look like an awful lot to do with lots of bits and pieces, but it really is quick and easy. I picked up these candlesticks in a sale after Christmas last year. You can use candlesticks you get from the thrift store or anything else. You can either leave them as they are or you can decorate them. Now these have already got a bit of a dry brush, whitewash look on them, but I don't want to leave them like that, so I've got this metallic gilding polish. If I open up my tub, you can see there it is. I'm going to use some of this to highlight the edges and make these look more Christmassy. I've decided to go in with my finger because it gives me a little bit more control, because this is very fiddly where all the layers and bits of wood turning are. Now this is all down to personal choice how much you put on. I think that's a nice amount for me, so now I'm going to work on the other one. If you want to save even more time, if you don't do this, you just make sure the candlesticks you pick up are ones you love, then you can save another, 2 to 3 minutes. It really doesn't take long to do this. But if you're really trying to be quick, then don't worry, you can skip this stage completely. Oh, I love that look. I think that is going to look so Christmassy. So now we're going to work on these jars. I love these Bon Maman jars because they have this like gingham top to them, but they've got Bon Maman written on there, which isn't ideal, but that doesn't matter because we're going to cover that, but without painting it. You can paint these if you want to, but again, it'll slow you down, and I try to make quick and easy items without painting. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a cork into the centre of each of these. The next thing I've got are these. Now you can use door handles, you can use beads. I got these when I was out for a walk and somebody had thrown an old coat rack out and these were on it, so I unscrewed them and brought them home. So I'm going to put these onto the top of here with some more hot glue. Now I know that doesn't look very glamorous, but don't panic. It's all going to change. So now I'm going to glue some pine cones right around the outside of the cork. So now I'm going to get some foliage and some little bits of faux fir tree and pop them in to the gaps, and then that will ensure that even the tiniest bit of writing will be hidden, but you'll still see all the pretty gingham around the edge. And then pop some in at an angle on the top just to hide the cork. Add some glue, pop it in and hold it at an angle. I think I'll add some of these berries. They look very effective. Now, one obvious way to save the time on this is to just make one. I just fancied making two. I thought they'd look much more decorative as a pair. The leaves are a bit big, so I trimmed them down and I'm going to put them underneath the berries just to add a little bit more interest. You could use these as a gift and put bonbons, sweets, candy, scented candles in. Or you've got another option. You take the lid off. You could put a little candle in. Now this is going to slip to the side. There you go. But you could. Doesn't that look beautiful? Glue everywhere as usual whenever I make a project. So the options are endless with what you can do with these. So let's have a look what they look like. Project, I'm just going to take some boxes that I don't need and turn them into something really cute. First thing to do is make sure they do close nicely. Those are fine. This one keeps popping open, so I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on the edge there, close it, hold it in place, and it's fine. I picked a few papers that I thought looked a bit like a farmhouse Christmas. I just liked them. I thought they were cute and I think they'll go well together. So now I'm just going to wrap these as if I was wrapping a Christmas present. You can, if you want to, fill these with something that you're not going to need again. And that way then it'll add a little bit of weight to them. I've got some beautiful velvet ribbon here that I thought went so well with these boxes. So I'm going to use this like olive green colour on this parcel. And I'm going to wrap it around once, cut it to size, just slightly overlapping, and then glue it into place. Now come around to the front, so I'm going to put this there. I don't want too much bulk on the bottom of these because I want them to stand up or stand on each other. Make a little bow, glue that in place, and if you put a little bob of glue there and ruffle up your little tails, it makes the bow look much more sumptuous. As usual, I've got hot glue everywhere, but if you're careful you won't get any hot glue on the bow. Just means a little bit more time, or an even better idea is to put a ready-made bow on. But let's get the rest of the ribbons on these parcels. Another thing you can do, if you get a piece of twine and take one of the threads or the plies from it, so it's nice and thin, you can thread on a few little mini bells. That's always quite cute. And just glue on a little bit of pretty foliage. Fluff up the edges of your twine where you cut it. Try and make it look a little bit like berries. A little bit of glue on the back. And pop that on there. And another option is to find something you've got in your stash. I've got this little piece of, it's an elastic. I'm not quite sure, probably off a box of chocolates or something. A little bit of glue. Pop that on. This is just a piece of tangerine skin. I cut it into star shapes, dried it out on the windowsill in the sunshine, and it makes a lovely little Christmas decoration. So let's have a look what these look like. project, I'm going to use this big plastic bauble. It's in 2 halves, you join it together. And I'm going to be using a pretty dangling decoration. You can pick any decoration you want as long as it dangles in some way. So first thing I'm going to do is just paint some glue, some PVA glue into the bottom, just a little bit, just to add some interest to this. So now I add a little bit of PVA glue to the bottom section of both of the halves. Then I'm taking some of this Do Crafts Paper Mania glitter, and it's a gorgeous shimmering colour. Pop some in there, not too much. Give it a bit of a swish around and then pop it, and then pour it into the other one on top of the gluey bit. Now at the moment you can see the PVA glue, but that's going to dry clear, so don't worry about that. You can wait for it to dry before you move on, but I'm not going to because I want these projects to be quick and easy. The only thing is, when you're doing this, if you scratch your dangly bit onto the glitter, you might make a mark in it. So make sure that you don't do that, or just let it dry. So now I've tied a knot up a little bit higher so that there's a dangle, but not so much of a dangle. And then hook this, if you can open up the 2 pieces of whatever it is that's tied with ribbon or whatever, and hook it over the little dangly bit on the bauble. Like that. And then close your bauble. Then I'm going to cut the excess off. I'm going to stand it in a yogurt pot so that it doesn't roll away. And then tie a knot at the top. Now to hide this little bit that's sticking out here of the original hanger of the dangly, I'm going to put a little bit of this. It's more of a copper than a gold, but I think we'll be fine using that. I'm going to put that around the top. Not the whole thing, obviously, just some little bits that I chop off. And now I'm going to put a tiny bit of gold tinsel around the top just to hide the joins. And look at that, I think it's gorgeous. Let's have a look what this looks like. This project I'm going to use a jar, I'm going to use a little Christmas decoration and some more red paper. Now you have the option of painting this lid, but I'm not going to. I'm going to cover it with a little bit of paper to hide all this because I don't think that's going to suit the project. The lid of my glitter is just the perfect size for making a circle to cover the writing on this lid. So I'm going to draw around it, cut it out. Cutting out a circle is terribly difficult. And then I'm going to use some Aleene's tacky glue and glue this into the centre of the lid. To give this more of a Christmas feel, I'm going to add some of this gorgeous silver rickrack braid right around the outside of the circle, and it'll also make the edges of the circle look a lot neater. This is a step that you can completely skip if you want to. So I've added a few little embellishments to the top of the train. It makes it look more Christmassy, and I think it's a great way of hiding that little dot where you cut off the hanger. Hopefully you've made a better job of gluing the train on than me. I always get hot glue everywhere. It wouldn't be my art if there wasn't hot glue showing somewhere. So then you just pop your lid onto your jar. So you could put into this some Lego if you've got a child who likes Lego. Be careful because you'd need it with an older child because there are so many bits and pieces. This part really is not a toy, so just be careful, bear that in mind. But for an adult, you could put in some sweets or some scented candles, or you could fill it with some Christmas flowers to make a pretty display. Let's have a look what this looks like. craft, I am going to use this little wood round, only it's something a viewer sent me in and it was actually from their own garden. And they made that, isn't that clever? I'm going to break open the Mod Podge, and I've got this that was sent to me too, and it's a little vintage Santa head. So I'm going to glue this onto here with Mod Podge and also give it a coating of Mod Podge over the top just to protect it. As you can see, this image of Santa has little bits of holly in his hair. So what I'm going to do to give this that extra bit of oomph is I'm going to glue a few little bits of foliage and berries on here to make it more three-dimensional. It's always worth keeping an eye out for very nice picks. This is off quite a large floral pick, and they last forever then because you can just cut little bits off them all the time. I've used this in such a lot of projects and it's still going strong. This ribbon is refusing to thread, so I'm going to pop it into a darning needle, which is a needle with a very big hole. Poke the needle through the hole, and the job is done. So now I like to tie a knot at the top there. You can't just tie the top of the ribbon, but if you tie a knot there, it angles the little decoration so that it hangs better when it's actually on your tree. And a little knot at the top. And look at that for a very fast Christmas decoration. So quick, so easy, and so much fun to make, and you can interpret this in any way you want to. Let's have a look what this looks like. This quick and easy project involves something I got from the charity shop or the thrift store for 50p. Gorgeous little doggy, look at that. And I've got this hat, which was actually an egg cozy that came off some egg cups that weren't very nice particularly. I couldn't think what to do with them, but now I've come up with an idea. And I've got some thick yarn, but it's not thick enough. I want this to be thicker. And in my tub I've got some little bows, so I'll be using one of those. I've got about 3 meters of this yarn. If I show you on a ruler, you can see it's really not that thick. You can buy a really chunky yarn. I folded it in half, so we've now got about a 1.5 meter of double yarn. I'm going to fold it again, find something heavy to put on the end. And then I'm going to twist and twist. Now the best way to do this, if you tie a knot at this end, and I don't know how I'm going to show you this, but you put your finger through and twist always in the same direction, and eventually the twist will start to spread, as you can see, up towards whatever heavy object you got, or a doorknob, or your friend's finger. And keep twisting and twisting, but keep it fairly taut, not too taut, because it'll pull from under the bottle. But keep twisting, and eventually it'll feel saturated with twists. I suppose that's the best way to put it. Run along like this, moving the twists right up, otherwise they'll all concentrate at the one end. When it's quite tight, bring this hand up to the bottle and gently pull the wool or the yarn from under the bottle, and then, and only then, let this end go. Run your hand up and down it a few times. You may need to be firm. And look at that. You've got yourself a really lovely braid. Now if you cut this, it will instantly unravel. So I'm going to tie the end to stop it unraveling, and then I'll glue it just before I cut the end. So I get the hat. Let's chop some of these loose ends off. As you can see, it's certainly not a new hat, but you're not going to see all that. And then pop it on the dog with the worst part of the hat towards the back. And I'm just going to put some glue on it, just to stabilise it a little bit so that it won't move around when I'm trying to work on it. Starting at the back, I'm going to glue this onto the hat. And the reason why I didn't glue it on before I put it on is because this hat, if you look, has slightly stretched. And if you glue this on, then the hat won't stretch properly. So now it's time to glue the decoration right around the bottom of the hat, turning it into a Santa hat. And now the difficult bit, and you probably will need to put on some form of finger protector. Put in your fingers exactly where the end of the length of braid is. Cut your yarn off. A little blob of hot glue in there. And then roll it round to get it to stick. A little bit of glue to make it firm on the back, and then you can trim it off. As you can see, it's a bit messy. And now all we need to do is glue a little bow to the doggy's neck. Now, when you're in a charity shop or thrift store, you can keep an eye out all year for the sort of thing that you can use for this. It could be a dog, a cat, a mouse, anything. And look at that. How cute is that? And how easy was it to make? Let's have a look what it looks like. If you keep watching any minute now, I'm going to put up a playlist of other videos of mine that you might enjoy. I hope I've inspired you to try some of these ideas, and if I have, then please let me know, and don't forget to give me a like. That would really mean the world to me. I'll see you all next time, but until then, don't forget, have fun. Bye.